Good morning, everyone. This is Aleem from IBF Net, welcoming you all to our third webinar in the Business Psychology webinar series by Dr. Arif Hassan. If this is your first time joining the webinar, this is actually the third out of 10 webinars in the Business Psychology series. The previous two webinars are currently uploaded on our YouTube channel, so check them out as well to follow up on what you may have missed. We're live streaming this to our YouTube channel right now, so as soon as the stream is over, the video will be available for replaying. We're going to jump right into the webinar after a few words by Muhammad Imad, the CEO of IBF Net Indonesia, regarding our latest course launch, the Certified Halal Business Analyst course.
Hello everyone, I'm Muhammad Imad, CEO of IBF Net Indonesia. Today, I'm thrilled to extend a warm invitation to all aspiring individuals who wish to delve into the fascinating world of halal with our new course, Certified Halal Business Analyst. Our course is a comprehensive exploration of the global halal economy, its diverse sectors, and its significance in today's world. In the course, you'll start by understanding the scope and growth of the global halal market. You'll gain insights into its dynamic nature and how it aligns with the SDGs. From there, we'll explore the fundamentals of the halal ecosystem. We'll deep dive into various sectors, including food and beverages, fashion and tourism, media, pharmaceuticals, and cosmetics, all through the lens of Sharia perspectives and the latest research trends. Unpacking the intricacies of halal certification, marketing, and ensuring consumer rights is also a crucial part of this course. You'll understand how to maintain the integrity of halal products and services. We'll also equip you with the knowledge needed to understand and navigate halal policy and regulations across global markets. In today's digital age, we can't ignore the role of technology. We'll explore how technology like blockchain impacts the halal food supply chain and the factors influencing tech adoption in the halal ecosystem. By the end of this course, you'll not only have a solid foundation in halal, but also be equipped with cutting-edge insights into this multifaceted world. This knowledge is invaluable, whether you're looking to certify a product, understand consumer mindsets, or navigate halal policy and regulation. So if you're eager to become a certified halal business analyst and unlock vast opportunities in the halal industry, I invite you to join us. Head over to netversity.io to join us on this enlightening journey into the world of halal.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, so if you would like more information about the course, head over to netversity.io and get enrolled. Now, back to the webinar. If you would like to know more about Dr. Arif, you can read more about him in our webinar page or in the video description below. As always, questions will be addressed towards the end of the webinar. So without taking much of your time, I now hand over the session to Dr. Arif. Dr. Arif, continue, please.
Okay, Salam and greetings from Canberra, and welcome to the webinar series on business psychology. Today's topic, as you can see, is very interesting as well as important for all of us, and this is about psychology of moral character and behavior. Whenever we use the word moral, we are also using it, in literature, ethical. So moral and ethical are interchangeable terms that I will be using throughout, in my presentation. Now, this is the outline of my presentation. We will discuss what is moral or ethical character and behavior. What is the difference between moral and legal behavior? What makes a behavior higher on standard, legal or moral? What are the elements of moral character? What are the sources of learning moral values? Can moral values be taught or cannot be taught? How moral reasoning is developed? And finally, parents' role on building moral character. Okay? Several important elements in this presentation, and I hope that you will find it interesting. So the first thing is, are ethics same as laws? And the answer is no. Law tells us what we must do, whereas ethics tells us what we should do, right? So even if some of the behavior may be legal, but it may not be ethical. For example, it may be legal to smoke in public places in some countries, but it is not ethical, because if you smoke in public places and if you're aware of the hazards that it creates for others, around, then, and if you are concerned about that and you don't do that, then that means you are showing an ethical or moral concern. So ethics and laws are not the same. Ethics tend to hold us to a higher standard of behavior than do laws, because if you are ethical or moral, you even though the law permits you to do certain things, but you think that it is not good to do, that means you are showing a higher standard of behavior. And why the governments of different countries they institute law, because of the ethical lapses. When it happens too rapid and if it becomes a problem for the community or society, then of course the law comes into place. So serious continuing ethical lapses can lead the government to make laws. For example, law banning smoking in public places. So that's the difference between ethics and laws. Now, what is ethical and moral character? It is defined as an individual's disposition to think, feel, and behave in an ethical versus unethical manner. So it's a kind of disposition or the character element of a person to think, feel, and behave, you know, in ethical or unethical manner. So that is called ethical or moral character, and it is defined in relation to social relationships. That is, when somebody does show a moral character or behavior, it facilitates social interaction. People are happy with that, and that leads to better social relationship. On the other hand, if somebody does otherwise, which hurts or damages or creates problems for others, then it may not facilitate the social relationship. So it regulates communal life. Ethical behavior or ethical people, they are good in terms of facilitating a better interaction in the society. So it also says that morality is not all about personal sacrifice and subjugation to others' interest. It's not like that if somebody is always, succumb to others' pressure and yield to others' pressure, even in situations where he should have voiced his stand and would have resisted, subjugation or other kinds of things, then that's not morality. Morality is all about standing for something which is good and not trying to sort of sacrifice for something which is bad for the society or the community. So morality is not all about personal sacrifice and subjugation. It's also important to understand the difference between temperament and character. Right? So, what is temperament? It is determined by biological factors such as sensory processing and neurotransmitter system. So, temperament, as we know, is that a more of kind of autonomous reaction, because it is determined by certain biological factors. We all know that some people are, for example, very hot tempered, others are very cool tempered. Those who are very hot tempered, they get angry very fast, very quickly. This is because of certain sensory processing elements and also the neurotransmitter system that the person has. The temperament is more biologically determined. On the other hand, character is largely shaped by individual learning, and social influences, right? So character is, fostered by the socialization process. The social influences play a very important role in the development of character. These are some of the indicators of what we call as moral character. The list are quite large, but just for example, these are some of the elements of moral character, which is kindness, compassion, care, friendliness, generosity, helpfulness, fairness, honesty. So all these elements of character is very much expected from a person who wants to lead a very moral life. There are a good number of research studies which suggest that if somebody has a good moral character, it has a number of benefits. It leads to, for example, better mental health, few emotional and behavioral issues, better school engagement and achievement in the case of students, happiness, as well as life satisfaction. A number of studies have gone into that and examined the people who display high moral character, virtues, and behavior. They have all these benefits. So it's a good thing to develop high moral character. So what are the elements of moral character or behavior? According to psychologists, the moral character or behavior consists of three elements. These are motivation, ability, and identity. Three elements: motivation, ability, and identity. Now, when we talk about motivation or how a person gets motivated to behave morally, uh, the most important element of motivation is called consideration for others. Okay, consideration for others. We all know we have a number of experiences that sometimes you benefit from somebody who is who comes to help you, even though he has nothing to do with you. I can give you an example from my own personal experience. Once I was visiting the Australian National University with my son, and it was a long time ago when my son was a student over there. So he took us to his campus, and then he was showing his campus, and then the car stopped. We were sitting in a car, and the car stopped at one place for a few minutes because he was showing us the details of the different buildings and surroundings. Suddenly, a very senior person came rushing towards our car, and then he said, "Are you lost? And can I help you?" Then my son said, "No, sir, we just wanted to show my parents the campus." Then said, "Oh, okay, no problem." Now, this is a very small incident, but it stuck in my mind that somebody was so kind, that he saw us, some maybe stranded, and came forward and asked whether I need his help. So that kind of example, are so many in a society which is very healthy, which cares for everybody, each other. So that is called consideration for others, right? I'm sure you may all be having several experiences of this kind, and I would like to listen from you maybe some other time about your experiences of how you got help, in some situations from strangers. So when we come talk about why some people try come forward, or do some good things and not resort to any unethical practice, rather stick to the moral standards and behavior. The motivation comes from number one, self-restraint. They don't want to, they're not in a hurry to sort of, uh, get something benefit in at the cost of somebody's loss. They are also motivated to do something through hard work. For example, not not cheating in the exam, rather believing in himself, and believing in the hard work to get good scores. All right, not harming, not in no interest in harming somebody, has a motivation to help, and also is concerned about social justice. So these are the motivational factors that help a person behave what is called as morally. The next one, and also, the motivation is also determined by certain personality traits. We discussed about personality traits in my last presentation. Two very important personality traits have been found to be strongly associated with people who show high moral character. The first one is honesty, and the other one is humility. So these are the two personality traits which are very strongly, correlated with motivation to do moral things. The second element of moral character is ability. And when we talk about ability, it is defined as the ability to regulate moral behavior, especially in situations involving short term profit but long term harm. All right. So if somebody is good, morally strong, he would be very good in controlling or regulating his behavior, which involves maybe a short-term profit, but he or she will not go for that because it will cause long-term harm. All right. So that is what is called as ability. How good a person is in regulating his behavior. For example, somebody is driving on a road and he gets, sort of an opportunity to overtake, change lanes illegally, uh, but can go faster. But he or she doesn't do that because he finds that although I can get faster, but at the long term it will create more traffic problems. So he would not do that because he knows that it is not a good thing to do, and he would try to control his urge to take that kind of illegal shortcuts. What are the reasons why some people have good ability in this respect is uh, two very important personality traits have been found to be associated with this ability. One is called conscientiousness. We discussed it in my last presentation. Now, conscientiousness is a personality trait. Those who are high on this trait, they are very dependable people. They are self-disciplined and careful. Okay? They are very well organized, dependable, and careful person. The second personality trait is called self-control, and people with low self-control display more aggressive and selfish behavior. Those who are high on self-control, they can control, they have the ability to regulate their behavior in line with ethical standards or moral standards. The third element of the moral character is identity, and the identity is about the extent to which being moral is central to one's identity. How does a person, perceives himself or herself, you know, and it is shaped by life experiences, family upbringing, culture, and religion. So all these life experiences, from childhood all onward, you know, leads somebody to internalize moral identity. Okay, he is very, very clear about his do's and don'ts, and in terms of moral standards. So the identity helps a person stay away from unethical acts and encourages behavior such as helping and charitable giving. Now, let me discuss a little bit about how this whole moral development takes place. It's called moral development process. How do people develop the distinction between right and wrong and engage in reasoning? This question has fascinated parents, religious leaders, and philosophers for ages. And American psychologist Lawrence Kohlberg developed a best known theory of moral development. His theory of moral development is very popular and it's very useful in understanding how, from childhood until the adulthood, a person develops moral concerns, moral stand behavior, as well as how does he or she rationalizes or applies reasoning about what is moral and what is not moral. So what Campbell did was he used a small story on his subjects of study who were uh, you know young children, and then followed up them until they become adult, you know. And Kahlberg used a story to sort of develop, uh, to get some answers from his respondents on their moral concerns and moral reasoning, and found that this morality or moral concerns develops in stages. Okay, so let me first show you this story and then explain that. It is called Heinz's story, which he used in his study. Kahlberg used in his study. The story is like that. In Europe, a woman was near death from a rare kind of cancer. There was one drug that the doctors thought might save her life. It was a form of radium that a druggist in the same town had recently discovered. The drug was expensive to make, but the druggist was charging 10 times what the drug cost him. He paid $200 for the radium and charged $2,000 for a small dose of the drug. The sick woman's husband, Heinz, went to everyone he knew to borrow the money, but he could not. But he could only get together about $1,000, which was half of what it cost. He told the druggist that his wife was dying and asked him to sell it cheaper or let him pay later. But the druggist said, "No, I discovered the drug and I am going to make money from it." Heinz became desperate and broke into the man's store, stole the drug for his wife. Was Heinz right or wrong? That is the question that Kahlberg asked to his respondent. Right? What do you think about that? Was Heinz right or wrong? Now, this reasoning presents very interesting uh, uh, description of the stage on which a person is in terms of his or her moral development. Right? Now, Kohlberg theory of moral development says that all of us develop moral character in different stages or different levels. So the first level, he call it as pre-conventional stage, which is uh, roughly between age until the age 6 or 7. And here the moral, uh, anything is moral so long as it does not leads to any kind of punishment. Okay, so unless and until you are caught, it's okay. That is the only moral standard at that time. Following rules only when doing so is in your immediate interest, and sticking to rules to avoid physical punishment. So if you can steal from the refrigerator without your mother or parents seeing it, it's okay to do that. So that is called the pre-conventional stage. Sorry. The next comes the conventional one, which is the stage 3 and 4, which is between the age 6, 7 until 11 age, 11 and 12. In here, the moral concerns is based on living up to what is expected to by people close to you. So you try to behave according to the expectations of your parents or your teachers, all right? On maintaining conventional order by fulfilling obligations which you have agreed. So that is called the conventional stage. And then finally comes the principles stage, which consists of valuing rights of others and upholding absolute values and rights regardless of the majority's opinion. So even if the majority of people are saying something else, but you think that it is not right, you stick to your value and try to do the same thing that you consider is important. So that is the principle stand. And finally, following self-chosen ethical principles, even if they violate the law. So like a whistleblower, in any organization, you see that even though he may lose the job or maybe against the company, he thinks or she thinks that it is important for him to blow the whistle and expose the malpractices of the company where he or she is working. So that's called the principal stage. So according to Kahlberg, that principal stage, not many people come to that stage. Most of the people remain until stage 2, which is conventional, and try to fulfill social obligations, and also try to be moral or ethical or follow ethical standards because of the social environment, what is expected from that person in that particular situation. Now, let me analyze this Kohlberg's story in terms of how people uh, try to, give reasons for whatever, uh, either the Heinz was right or Heinz was wrong. Um, Argument in favor that Heinz was right in stealing the drug. The first stage, if somebody is on the first stage of his moral development, which is orientation to punishment, then the argument would be like this. If it is not wrong to take the drug, it is really worth only $200. It is not wrong. It is wrong. It is not wrong to take the drug. It is really worth only $200, and I probably would get caught anyway. All right, that is the argument for a person who has this orientation to punishment. However, the argument against that is also there, and the argument is like that. It is wrong to take the drug. Besides, I would probably get caught and be punished. So I should not do that. Right? This is the first stage of moral development. What is in the second stage of moral development, where orientation to pleasure or social conformity? Well, this is about argument in favor is that if I don't want to lose my wife, I should take the drug. It is the only thing that will work. Argument against, I should not risk myself or my wife. If she dies, I can marry someone else. It would be wrong to give up my well-being for her well-being. Right? That's the orientation to pleasure. And the orientation to social approval in favor is I have no choice. Stealing the drug is the only thing for a good husband to do. What would my family and friends say if I didn't try to save my wife? Right? Argument against I must not steal the drug. People would not blame me for not stealing the drug. It is not the kind of thing people will approve of. So this is about social approval thing. Orientation to social order. Again, the argument in favor is, when I got married, I vowed to protect my wife. I must steal the drug to live up to that promise. If husbands do not protect their wives, the family structure will disintegrate and with its society argument against stealing is illegal, I have to obey the law no matter what the circumstance. Imagine what society would be like if everybody broke law. All right, interesting. Now, orientation to social rights and responsibilities. The argument in favor is the principle of sanctity of life demands that I steal the drug, no matter what the consequence. Argument against the principle of justice and the greatest good for the greatest number prevents me from stealing the drug, even for the good of my wife. So, as you can see, moral reasoning is very complex, and depending upon the level of moral development, one person can have both kinds of reasoning in favor or against a certain issue, as we have seen in this case. All right. Now, the next thing that I would like to discuss about is, can moral values be taught? A good number of psychologists say that moral values cannot be taught. Actually, it is caught. What does it mean? It means that moral values, we try to observe people around us from our childhood, and our observation leads to understanding what is right and wrong. Right? If somebody simply is giving lectures but is not behaving according to his own words, then nobody is going to get something from that person. Nobody is going to follow that person because he or she says something but does something else. All right. And the social norms play a very important role in the development of what I've already discussed earlier, our moral values. I can give you a very interesting uh, example from my own experience when I was in International Islamic University in Malaysia. You know, during one of my the Friday, prayers, the Imam of was giving a very wonderful lecture, and the lecture was on that the students who are driving motorcycles on the campus, they should not use the footpath which was circling, in the university. The university had one-way street, but the students used to take shortcuts using the footpath to go to their hostels after the prayer or before the prayer. So the Imam was saying that that kind of thing is not only illegal, it is unethical and immoral because it may cause danger and injury to those who are walking on that footpath. So I was very happy listening to this sermon, and I thought that this is going to make a good impact on the students after the prayers. So as soon as the prayer was over, I rushed to the out of the mosque to see whether any change has taken place in the motorcycle uh, riding behavior on the street on the footpath. Sadly, I didn't see any difference. Didn't see any difference that day or any other day after that. So that is what I'm saying, that simple lectures or sermons or any kinds of slogans do not make any change in the behavior. The behavior that we display as a part of the social standards or community standards. If everybody is behaving that way, it's kind of bandwagon effect. We also, go accordingly. So, if you want to develop moral behavior or moral character, the first thing what you need to do is it has to create a kind of social norm, standard within the community or even in the family, so that those who observe that, they know that this is the way we have to behave. This is right, and that is and that this is not right. So, company code of ethics, moral slogans, religious codes don't influence moral behavior. That's why we always say that moral values cannot be taught. It is caught. Yes, can be taught, but it has to be followed by, you know, showing, that kind of standard of behavior. If somebody says don't smoke and he himself smokes, it can never be, making an impact on the person's moral standards. So social norms play an important role, such as following or not following the traffic rules. We know that. In the Western countries, we see that everybody follows the traffic rules very stringently, very strictly, all right? But in other countries, maybe there are different situation, because everybody is violating traffic rules, so people try to take advantage of that. So social norms play an important part. Now, how moral are people across countries? A reality check. This is I'm going to present to you a, finding of a study in which, what the researcher did was he presented a scenario to his respondents in several countries and asked them this question. I'll let you know what's that question. First, what is the story? The story is this, that he says that you are traveling with one of your friend in a car, and the your friend is driving the car and he is over speeding. Unfortunately, the car meets an accident and somebody is injured. All right. Then the police came, and then police started questioning because you are the only witness in the car. There was nobody around, so the police asked you as a witness whether your friend was over speeding. Now, what would you do? Are you going to help your friend and say no, he was not over speeding, or you would say no, I am very morally a strong person. I'll stick to my values and say that, yes, my friend was speeding and I am not obliged to help him. All right. So there are two options. Either you can help and say that, no, he was not speeding, or you would say that, yes, he was speeding. All right. So the question that the researcher asked was, what rights does your friend have? Does your friend have a right to expect from you that you are going to help him and say that, no, my friend was not over speeding, or you would say that, no, he has no right. So there are three options. Number A, my friend has a definite right as a friend to expect me to testify to the lower figure, or B, he has some right as a friend to expect me to testify to the lower figure, or C, he has no right as a friend to expect me to testify the lower figure. Would you help your friend or not? All right, this was the question. Now, this is the finding from several countries. These are the countries: Korea, Russia, China, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, Singapore, France, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Australia, UK, and USA. So this figure says that friends have no right or some right and would not help. As you can see over there, that in US, 93% say that my friend has no right and I cannot help him. All right, he should not expect me to say to give a lower figure. All right, whereas South Korea, Russia, China, India is 54%. Indonesia 57%, Malaysia 60% say that yes, I'm not going to help. He has no right or little right, some right, right? So as you go along, most of the Western countries are very high on showing a very high degree of ethical standards and saying that no, I can't say tell lie and give a lower figure that my friend was not over speeding. So this is one of the very interesting kind of cross-cultural study conducted quite some time back, and it shows the level of moral standard in different countries. All right. And finally, a little bit about parents' role in building moral character among children. As I already told, that moral characters, moral values are caught. It cannot be taught. Lot has to be done through presenting oneself, in a as a role model, so that the children follow that. So these are some of the suggestions about of what parents can do in order to develop moral values among children, understand beliefs and values and share them with children. Okay, so it's very important that the parents themselves know what is right and what is wrong. Some people don't know about certain things. They think that it is right, but actually it is wrong. So first thing first, that as a parent, you should be very clear about those values, the ethical or moral values. You should know it very well, and then share it with the children and be a role model. Use teachable moments. There may be certain situations where children don't know whether it is right or wrong. So you are the best person to teach them that no, this is wrong, you should not do that. And expect moral behavior from your children. Okay. Because when you expect children, always try to come to expectations in order to, conform and get pleasure and then, appreciation from the parents. So expect moral behavior from children and appreciate that. Help the child develop self-control and empathy. So there are a good number of training also available these days on emotional intelligence, where the children are, given training how to develop self-control and empathy. Okay, which is provided in some good schools. Can do that, and teach the child treat others well, not just to stay out of trouble. Okay. Finally, use golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Right. So teach your children, teach all children that you should treat others the way you want to be treated. It's a very famous golden rule. Okay. So these are some of the tips on how you can, uh, help children understand moral character and behavior. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for listening to me, and see you in my next webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Arif, for that insightful session. I've received a couple of questions from the participants. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna combine them into 2 or maybe 3 questions, because there are a few similar questions. Okay, so the first question, which is, in your opinion, how has the rise of digital media and technology influenced the development and expression of moral character in younger generations?
Okay. Well, I think media, particularly the current kind of exposure that the children are getting through all kinds of media, so whether it is TV or other devices like mobile and laptops and whatnot and iPads. Well, the children are watching this. I see myself, among my own grandchildren. They are getting exposed to all kinds of cartoon characters. Some of them are good in terms of telling them what is right and what is wrong. Some may not be good, but of course, this multifaceted, exposure, not only in terms of the members in the family, but also through gadgets and all that, are making an impact on children's cognitive development, including their understanding of what is right and what is wrong. And yes, it can be a kind of concern for parents as well, because if children are exposed to, because when we talk about these media things, some of them may be very bad, very nasty, and unless this is being very well controlled, children can get some bad influences. So it's very important for parents, to see that children, even though they may use nowadays, they're using these gadgets, but there should be put a limitations to that. So yeah, that's one of the things that needs to be considered.
Yeah, I think in our time, the only thing parents needed to worry about was, how Tom treats Jerry in the Tom and Jerry cartoon series. I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but nowadays it's just, you have TikTok,
Yes,
you have
YouTube,
YouTube, you have all
so
sorts
many,
of.
so many. Some of the cartoon characters I find to be very good. They always try to instill certain standards, certain moral standards.
Okay, the second question is, do you think cultural backgrounds influence how individuals might perceive Heinz's actions? Um, a follow-up question to this, how might responses to this dilemma vary across different cultures?
Wow, that's very interesting question, but I think that needs research. I don't know. Uh, the culture may play an important role because there are certain cultures, as I told you, as I show you that final slides on cross culture, the study conducted in several countries on how do they, interpret that car accident situation and whether they would like to help or not help according to their moral standard. So, of course, I think that the same kind of answer we would be able to get, in the Heinz case as well, right? But of course, as I showed you, the reasoning can be both positive and negative, depending upon, you know, one's ability to reason one way or the other. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think individual moral beliefs and values also play a very significant role here in determining whether they see Heinz's actions as right
Yeah.
or wrong, because some might prioritize the sanctity of life above everything
Yeah.
else, but
Yes.
there are a few, or there are others rather, who might hold the rule of law as paramount in this case.
Yeah. Depends upon how you, interpret it.
Okay, so I think the last question is, in your opinion, what makes a behavior higher on the standard scale? Is it its legality, or is it its morality?
Of course, morality, as I told you in the beginning as well, morality or moral behavior is higher on standard because this behavior may be legal, but if you refrain from that behavior because you think that it is may cause harm to others, then you are showing a higher standard of behavior because it is voluntary. Whereas, the legal is that you have to, otherwise you're going to be punished. For example, breaking a traffic rule, breaking the traffic light, if you're caught, then you're punished, all right? So it's always, if you show a moral standard of behavior, that means you're showing a higher standard of behavior. Right? You don't just smoke in public places, although you are a smoker, because you are allowed, but you don't do that. And that means you are showing a higher standard of behavior.
Okay, I think those are the questions that we can answer in this session. And for any other questions, please do send an email to Dr. Arif Hassan directly. He has shared his email address in the thank you slide. And yeah, I think we can call it a day. We can end this webinar session right now. We will definitely have the next webinar in this series, I believe, next week. We will keep you informed on that. So do do look out for the announcement on our social media, particularly our LinkedIn page for that date. All right, as always, thank you everyone for joining this session, and looking forward to seeing you again in the next one.
Well, thank you very much for participating in this webinar. I hope that you have enjoyed it and you have learned something from it. All right, so looking forward for our next presentation shortly. Thank you.